Welcome to The Good Life. Thank you for stopping by. I'm Patrick Harney, a proud member of the MPOTS Network. As always, remember to like, subscribe, comment, share, hit the notification button so you can be alerted when a new episode comes out. Today, I got a great episode. I have a man by the name Aaron Marino, also known as Alpha M. He's the #1 men's lifestyle influencer on all of social media, especially YouTube. His YouTube channel, he has over 6 million subscribers, and his videos have been viewed over 1 billion times total. I mean, come on. He's also the owner of Pete and Pedro men's grooming line. He's also the owner of Enemy Sunglasses, Tiege Hanley, which is a men's skincare product, or a men's skincare line, I should say. And yeah, we have a great episode, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. Let's get into it. All right, Alpha, Aaron Marino, we are live.
Patrick,
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. What's going on, man?
Well, I wanted to have you on because your story is very inspiring. It really is, and I wanted to kind of get that story out to those who may not have heard it, and. Yeah. So if we could we start with
how far back you want to go, Patrick?
Well,
we can go way back.
Well, when you were 2 years old. No,
exactly. I was an accident. My mom and dad. Yeah. Which is true.
But yeah, so if we could go back to 2006, I think that's kind of what you tend to quote your, where your story began of kind of,
Now, my story started back when I was 12 years old. And so that was pretty much the time when I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I had a pretty crappy home life. I had a stepfather that was pretty emotionally abusive. And at that point, I had been through 2 kind of abusive stepfathers. My mom, is an amazing woman, but she has not been, the luckiest in love type of thing. She's definitely unfortunately married 2 jerks at least. And so I was kind of like collateral damage. And so I was my self-esteem was pretty shot at that point. I lost the ability to kind of like stand up for myself. And if I'm being honest, I don't know that I ever had it at that point, just because of the stepfathers coming into my life at a pretty young age, moving schools a bunch. And so 12 years old, though, my mom asked me what I wanted for Christmas. And I said a gym membership. And I had seen the movie Rocky, I believe it was Rocky 3. And it was Rocky 3 or 4 when he fought the Russian.
That was Rocky 4. Yeah.
4. Okay. So it was Rocky 4. I saw that movie, man. And it was like, wait a second, hold up. If a body can look like that, that's what I want. And so from that point on, man, I was down in my basement, like every night doing push-ups, listening to my Vanilla Ice tape. And I had like sand-filled weights. And so by 12 years old, I was like, you know what, I need to upgrade this. And so my mom said, what do I want? And I said a fitness center membership. And so I went to the gym, and it was like, I found my home. It's like, from that point on, I was like, my God, like I felt so good about myself, right? I could leave everything, the home life at home. But when I went to the gym, I was like the king, right? I loved everything about it. And I knew from that point that that's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And so fast forward, I went to college, got a degree, business management from West Virginia University. And the whole idea was that I was going to own a fitness center. That was the only thing that was going to mean happiness and fulfillment for me. And so got out of college, moved to Atlanta, didn't know where I was going to start. I got a job as a personal trainer at a Bally's health club and met a guy. And he was our general manager. He's like, hey, are you interested in helping me start a business? I want to start a nutrition business and a nutrition store. This was back in 2009, probably 2000. Anyway, it was probably about 2000, somewhere in that neighborhood. I moved to Atlanta in 1998. And so that's when I graduated college. And so I said, yeah, it wasn't a fitness center, but it was a business. And so I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so I helped him start this nutrition store. It was super successful right away. We expanded to 3 locations. Unfortunately, our ethical sort of compass was different. And so he wanted, this is back. I mean, this is for those of you who exercise and who are into the weight game back in the day. He wanted to sell something called furanone dihydro. Long story short, it was like GHB kind of thing. And so you could make a lot of money. Well, the government, turned it to a schedule, whatever. And so I'm like, listen, I don't want to be involved in this because it was highly illegal. And, the one thing I did know is that I would not thrive in prison. I would be popular, but I wouldn't do well. Right? And I'm like, so I'm like, I got to get out of here. Yeah. And so along that time, though, when I was at the nutrition store, I met a woman. I helped her lose about 100 pounds. And so I left the nutrition store. I started working at a Crunch Fitness. And she said, would you be interested? One day she came to me. She said, would you be interested in starting a health club or a personal training studio with me? I said, absolutely. That was my dream. And so, fast forward, we signed the lease for our facility on September 11th, as in September 11th, the day that the planes crashed into the World Trade Center. Man. That should have been an omen as to how that business was going to unfold. And so, fast forward, we did that for a little while. I was making literally $24,000 a year. It didn't matter because I was happy. I was fulfilled. I was living my dream. Well, we decided to try to expand our empire to a group fitness facility. We had this idea, and anyway, long story short, we ended up taking some investment from this one investor. He and my business partner got into some heated battles, and it was apparent that there were some legal situations that were going on, and we didn't have any money. And so the decision was made at that point to basically just blow it up and walk away. And at that point, I was taking money off of my credit cards to pay my staff and just to make ends meet. I started driving a beer cart at a country club, and that was really just to put gas in my car and give my then girlfriend, my now wife, some money just for like groceries and rent and things of that nature. And so here I am, 30, how old was I? Gosh, like 30, I don't know, probably 30 years old. I had a business. I was an entrepreneur. I was living my dream. It was my only dream. And I was 30 years old, and I'm driving a beer cart at a country club. And that was probably the lowest point, but it wasn't that I was broke. I ended up having to file bankruptcy because, we had like $500,000 worth of, loans and debt and everything. And it wasn't the fact that I was broke. That was fine. I grew up poor. So poor didn't bother me. I never had a lot of money. The problem was that I didn't know what my dream was anymore, because from the age of 12, the only thing I wanted to do was own a fitness center. And then that got taken away, or it went away. And it's like, well, what now? Like, I don't want to do that anymore, because like I had like PTSD from that business and that industry. And so that was the hardest thing, was what do I do now? And so, that's kind of my story. And then that's the bad backstory to how I ended up broke and driving a beer cart. But then my wife gave me a video camera in 2000, and I guess it was 2006. She gave it to me. I didn't, I think, open the box until like 2007. And then I think 2008 is when I posted my first YouTube video. In the meantime, after I filed bankruptcy, I started image consulting. I started helping guys dress better. And that got started because there was this guy, Steve, that was one of my clients at the personal training studio that wanted to get ready for a date. He didn't know what to wear. I'm like, oh, well, why don't I come over and see what you have? And by the way, we got to go get your haircut, and your nose hairs are nuts. And so we did that whole thing, and he looked great. He had a great date. And somebody at his work, actually a woman, said, hey, you look great. What happened? He says, well, I got a guy, right? Yeah. What happened? And he's like, I got a guy. And he took me shopping and stuff. And she said, well, would he take my husband shopping? And how much does he charge? And that's when I was like, wait a second, maybe there's a market for just like a regular dude to help other guys just dress better and present themselves better. And, who knows? And so I started a website. This was back when you could advertise on Google for a relatively affordable CPA. And so I was advertising, and I was one of the first people to do it at that point, back in 2006. The only real like resources for like regular guys to get like style advice was GQ magazine and Esquire online. And so there really wasn't anybody, addressing that. And so I thought, wait a second. My wife gave me a video camera. I'm like, wait a second. Why don't I just see and try and figure this out? And so I posted a video on YouTube. I had been on YouTube probably a total of 3 or 4 times prior to me figuring out how to actually upload a video. And the rest is kind of history. The next day, or on that first video, I got a comment from somebody. And this was back in 2008 that said, hey, I'm a bigger guy. What should I wear? And it was at that point, it's like, I found my home. And I think really for me, the whole, for me, what I struggled with and sort of been searching for my whole life was just validation, like feeling like I meant something to somebody and like I made a difference. And so that is what I've come to realize is sort of what my, definition at this point is of success, is being able to, help people, and there's nothing that makes you feel better, if I'm being honest.
Well, yeah. And I think, and that's interesting that you mentioned the whole validation thing, because, I mean, I was just talking with my girlfriend about that, about how, because I'm an actor, and
I know that went and saw your IMDb profile.
Oh, thank you. But we crave that, we like to think that, oh yeah, we do it for the art, we do it for the story, and we do. But there is a part of us that we want people to like us. We want people to enjoy what we're doing and appreciate what we're doing. And I think it's interesting, because on your YouTube channel, you talk to guys, you help build, and you've done it for me. I mean, I've been watching your videos for years, and you help men learn to help build their self-esteem themselves.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Rather than looking for outside sources, and I think it's, why do you think it is that, that's kind of a taboo topic still for men? I think that wanting that validation, why do you think that's still kind of a tiptoe subject?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's weird, but you're right. I mean, I think guys are still weird about wanting to look good. They're still weird about, actually, I should say they're weird about acknowledging it. It's not weird. Every guy throughout history, you want to look good, you want to feel sexy, you want to be confident, right? But in terms of, I think there's still an idea in this whole kind of mindset that men should be self-sufficient and that we shouldn't worry about that kind of stuff, because that kind of stuff is what women worry about, or it's a little bit, egotistical or self-absorbed or, kind of shallow in order to want to look good. But, there's nothing wrong with wanting to present the best package you possibly can and feel great about yourself. And a lot of times it's building your self-esteem just kind of from the outside in, when you like the guy you see looking back at you in the mirror, whether or not it's you're wearing, like, think about this. What happens when a guy puts on a well-tailored suit, right? He stands up taller. He you can almost see the confidence like beaming from his face. And it's just simply because he knows he looks good, right? Yeah. And he likes what he's wearing and he feels more like confident. And so that's something that I think everybody should kind of strive for every day, is just feel good about yourself. And the other thing is you have to also realize that it's crazy competitive out there, like never before. And if you're not paying attention to the way that you look or present yourself, your competition is, and you can't afford to not, essentially, because you're going to literally lose in terms of relationships, in terms of jobs, in terms of experiences, if you are not paying attention to the little, nonverbal communicating that we're doing and presenting the best package possible.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is, that's very true, I think. And now how do you, because you said it's, it's very competitive out there, and, how do you keep up with the ever-changing trends, for guys? Because you're always saying, these are some things that you should have in your closet. These are some things you should get rid of, and like, so how do you keep up with all of those changes?
I don't know. I don't even know. I'm probably not. I'm old, man. I'm a dinosaur. So I still love bootcut jeans. I won't wear them, but like you get comfortable in these, sort of styles. And, it is to some degree like an evolution. But it's just about just paying attention to what's going on, what's popular. There's a lot of trends that I don't necessarily buy into or think would make you look good. And so my whole thing is, you want to look as good as possible. You can't wear big baggy clothes. And even though there's it's very trendy right now to wear the oversized shirts, the oversized sweaters, even baggy pants are coming back into trend and style. For me, it's about, you want to look, as tall and as muscular as possible. And so that requires you not to wear big baggy clothes and big clunky shoes, but it's all, it's all in what you're comfortable with and what makes you feel good though.
Yeah. And I got to say
it
because of your advice, I have gotten myself 2 bomber jackets.
Whoa, mama.
A black and a military green. I've gotten many compliments on it, but the Chelsea boots.
Yeah, man, they're just easy, right?
They changed my life, man. Suede.
Yeah.
I have suede ones. I like suede.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, man, I've gotten a lot of compliments. So thank you very much for that.
The Chelsea boots. Yeah. Boots will change your life. And if you're short like me, they definitely will change your confidence a little bit when you slip those bad boys on. Little extra height never hurt anybody.
Well, I'm 6'4". So
you are?
Yeah.
You're 6'4"? Yeah. Okay. So you look shorter than that in your pictures.
Well, it's funny. I think the air is cloudy enough as it is up here. So I try to kind of get down to level. But so you also own many businesses. I mean, you have Enemy Sunglasses, you have Tish Hanley, Pete and Pedro. You also have a salon as well. Mm-hmm. So what made you want to start getting into those realms where you're now offering products?
Yeah, that was simply just me just being curious. I'm not smart in terms of, I'm not like a smart guy, right? I don't think about like, ooh, here's a strategy or here's a plan, or if I did this, like, I'm not that. I'm a dumb dude. I basically go and I'm a creature of interest and opportunity. So if there's something that I think is cool or that I'm interested in, hey, let me just see if I can do it. I failed so many times. Like, there are a lot of businesses that you didn't mention that aren't around anymore, right? Like, Ollie was a teeth whitening thing. And then, I had an apparel line that didn't work. I was literally stringing beaded bracelets together when I, was, trying to sell like accessories. I had a membership website that I was trying to have a subscription-based membership website. Like, I have tried and failed at more things than I've actually succeeded at. And so, for me, it's just about, if there's something that I'm interested in, I'm brave enough to try it. And I'm also smart enough to realize when something is not working. And if it's not, if it's not fun, if it's not, lucrative, if I'm not seeing glimmers of hope every once in a while, then it's time to basically shoot the dog. And so, I've tried a bunch of things. And so some of them have worked out. The Pete and Pedro, that was kind of like my first official one that I'm still doing that basically just started because I was interested in men's hair product. I was doing a lot of videos about, hair at the time. And so I was frustrated because at the time, American Crew was kind of like the big boy in terms of, men's hair products. And so the thing about them is that there were some products that they had that were really great, like the Foreman cream and the fiber. But then there were other products that they had that kind of sucked. And so I was like, wait a second, well, maybe I can, create my own product. And so I have a friend, Steven, who I have the salon with now. And I said to him, hey, do you know any labs? He was at the time, he was his hairstylist. I said, do you have any lab connections that might talk to somebody who's not in the industry? And he goes, yeah. He gave me a few contacts. I tried a bunch of different products. I decided on a line. At the time, it was a private label situation where it was easy to start, right? For Pete and Pedro, I started the entire company for like $2,500.
Wow.
And that included my Dymo label printer, my stamps.com, building the website, my boxes to ship, my tissue paper to pack in the boxes, and my opening inventory. My opening inventory was literally 96 units in total. So I got 96 units of 5 different products. And so I had, 4 cases of 5 different products, the clay, the pomade, the putty, the cream, and something else I forget off the top of my head, paste. And so, you know, and I just, hey, who knows? And so year number one, I made $33,000 off of it. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And it was still kind of like a stepchild though. I'm like, yeah, let me just keep doing it. And every year it kind of, you know, grew. I ended up getting on Shark Tank with it at that point. And, you know, that didn't really do anything in terms of, you know, moving the needle. People think that, oh, you're on Shark Tank, you're going to be wildly successful. That's what I thought too, the first time I was on. And it's not that way. You've got to really have the right product, and it's got to be the right fit. And that's another business that I tried and failed, or product. It was an information product. It was a style system trying to help guys like dress better, the Alpha M style system. And, you know, so I'm willing to try things. And I think for me, once you fail, like everybody's got to get that out of the way, right? You got to fail. You got to fail a few times. And so for me, I failed so big in terms of, you know, I had, you know, all this debt. I was broke. I, you know, that was the only thing I ever wanted to do was the fitness center. When you take that away and you fail to that magnitude, like what else? Like, what am I going to do? What's the worst case scenario? I'm going to be broke again. Okay. Well, I've survived. And so now it's about being, you know, more methodical and calculating my risk. Am I willing to try something that I like, is it worth it kind of thing? Is it worth it in terms of time? Is it worth it in terms of money? And can I endure the loss if it goes to zero? And so, so it's kind of everything. I'm just a creature of opportunity. And that's for me, I think it's, and if you get into this mindset, it's just being afraid to regret something more than the fear of failure. And once you fail, and you don't die and, you know, you aren't homeless and living in your car, you know, it gets less scary to just try. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that was always a lesson that my parents taught me growing up was, you know, if you're going to do something, do it big. So if you're going to fail big, so you can learn as much as you can from that, and then understand that you'll come through it. And, you know, so that way you can set your sights higher and have the tenacity to be able to go when others say, no, you'll never reach that. Be like, well, no, I think I can. And if I fail, then I fail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, that clay,
it's good.
That's good stuff. That is good stuff.
It is good stuff.
But so you've got Pete and Pedro, and then Tish Hanley came shortly after that, or it seemed to be it was next in line. And then
next after Pete and Pedro, it was I started a advertising agency called Menfluential Media, and that was another one of those kind of, you know, just an opportunity. I had my best friend from high school, Terry. At the time, I was doing, you know, some YouTube promotions and a lot of YouTube promotions in terms of some of these brands would contact me. And at the time, I would just like send them a media kit with like my rates. I wouldn't follow up. I wouldn't negotiate. It was just like, here it is. And if they got back to me, they got back to me. And so that was one of the I hated negotiating and working with brands in terms of the back end stuff. I like promoting stuff. I like talking about it. I like doing videos and content. And so about 5 years ago, I guess about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, my best friend from high school, Terry, he was in car sales, and he was just brutalized by it. By the time, you know, he got to be the age of, you know, 37 or whatever it was at the time. He was the first person I knew out of high school that was making like $100,000 a year, because he basically anyway, he did. I don't know what the word is.
Skipped.
What's the word? He forgone.
He forwent.
Forgoed.
Oy vey.
Anyway, he ended up he didn't go to college.
There you go.
Exactly. And so he just started selling cars and was really successful at it. Anyway, fast forward, the car industry is brutal. You know, 15 years later, he's making 120,000, 140,000. It just wasn't scaling to the way that he needed it to or wanted it to. And it was a lot of hours. And so he always would come to my family reunions. Once a year, we'd get together, and he would come down and hang out. And one year I just said, you know, he was kind of like in between car dealerships. And I said, what would you think about trying to sell advertising for me? And he said, yeah, I can give it a shot. And I said, well, how much money do you need to like pay everything and just to be, comfortable? And he goes, well, $5,000 a month. I said, okay. I said, I'll guarantee you 3 months of $5,000. So $15,000. If it doesn't work at the end of 3 months, then it's not right. And we just have to make sure that we're still friends. And so right away, it was off to the races. And so it was super successful. He did what he did really well, which is sell. I do what I do really well, which is create content. Another one of my buddies, Antonio Centeno, another content creator, he's like, hey, will you sell advertising for me? I said, sure. And so we ended up, the three of us coming together and forming an advertising agency. And so now we represent about 40 guys in the men's like lifestyle space and sell advertising for them. That was my second kind of business that I still have. And then the next one was Tiege Hanley. And then after Tiege, it was Ollie, which was teeth whitening. That's not around anymore. And then, yeah, Enemy, I guess now is about 2 years old, and then started a salon and still trying to figure it out, Patrick.
Yeah. Well, with the sunglasses in particular, I mean, it's a brilliant idea to create sunglasses that are affordable, that you don't feel like, oh man, I just spent $350 on these and I just sat on them, or I lost them at the beach or whatever, what was that solely just based on you being sick of paying that much for sunglasses? And you're like, you know what, I'm going to make my own, screw this.
Yeah, no, the sunglass company I've always been into sunglasses, and I have expensive taste in sunglasses. And so, it's one of those things where one day I was in Chicago for a Tiege Hanley quarterly meeting. And every time I go down there, one of my favorite things to do in the morning is go to the lake. I stay right by the lake, and I go running. Well, I have a buddy who has a sunglass company there on this pretty famous street, Oak Street. Anyway, Oak Street is in kind of like that Magnificent Mile area, super high-end stores, luxury, right? Just tons of money. And so he has the store, and I passed it, and he has a sign on the window that said, enemy is good is the enemy of great. And I saw that word enemy, and I'm like, man, that would be a really cool sunglass company brand, right? And so I went right back to my hotel room, and I went to GoDaddy, and I'm like, Enemy sunglasses. It was available. I'm like, cool. I grabbed it. Enemy shades. Oh, that's available. I'll grab it. Enemy, And so I went to, when I was leaving that day, I was in the airport, O'Hare Airport, and I called a buddy who understood like sourcing and has made and manufactured some products over in China. And I said, hey, will you help me sort of bring this to life? And he said, yeah. And so I said, great, here's the name. And so I also did searches to make sure that no sunglass company had the trademark on enemy. And then fast forward, I ended up having the ability to buy, or the opportunity to buy, the domain enemy.com. And that was kind of like the first time I'd ever bought like a premium domain, but I was like, if I'm going for this, I might as well go for it. And it was like $45,000. And I'm like, in 2 years from now, will I regret not spending the $45,000 to have like a really sexy URL? And I'm like, yeah, I might as well just do it. And I can always sell it if it doesn't work. So that was it. And then just custom designs, because the majority of brands out there are just, the companies will just stamp their logo or label on an existing style. And so we kind of customized the kind of some classic designs and just made them super high quality for a really, really, really stupid price for the level of quality. And so if I had to do it over, I would probably make them less high quality because that's the thing, right? How do you, unless you're really interested or you understand sunglasses, you don't understand why Zeiss optics are so much superior to, plastic lenses that you're going to find in Gucci glasses or, or in Tom Ford glasses. Like those lenses are not as high quality as the lenses that I use for under $100, per pair of sunglasses. And so, it's kind of this weird, I'm in a weird, that's a business that I'm still trying to figure out. I'm not crushing it with that one. It's doing well, but it's all relative, right? And so I'm still currently trying to figure it out. I'm redoing a new website. I've got to figure out the paid advertising game better with that one. And the challenge is everybody says they've got high quality sunglasses, right? Everything from, Shady Rays to what's another one? Blenders, the sunglass company that has like a bottle opener on the arm. I'm like, we're high quality for $50. And I'm like, no, you're not. And I'm like, I'm really high quality for $95. It's like, are you that much? And so that's still a business that is a work in progress. And the biggest challenge right now that I'm facing, but we'll see what this year brings.
Yeah. Now, if you could go back and tell your 25-year-old self one golden nugget of information that you have come to acquire, in your time, what would it be?
I got it. It's success doesn't always look like what you think it will or hope it will. And so, yeah, that's it. Because back when I was 25, I was, doing the fitness center. And if you would have told me back then that I'd be for a living making videos and standing in a room and talking and shouting to a camera, I would have punched you in the face, because at the time that was not what my success looked like. It was owning a chain of health clubs. Like, that's the only thing that was going to make me happy and fulfilled. And so I guess that's kind of the takeaway for anybody, listening, is just, sometimes, the universe or whatever has a different plan than you do.
Yeah.
And you've got to be open enough to kind of let it happen. And, it may, or it will. What's supposed to happen will, if you stop trying to force something that's not supposed to work.
Yes, that's true. That is definitely true. And I've had that in my life, personal and professional life as well. So I understand that. Now, when you started YouTube, and you were really, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you were really the only one in that lane of helping guys, and basically, and giving tips and all that stuff. How, now that it seems as though there's so many of them now, how has that changed for you in terms of, have you had to try and adjust the way you approach things now, or different topics, or, how do you go about that?
Yes. And the answer is yes. Yes. I was the first one talking about men's style on YouTube.
Yeah.
And, over the years, it is, the space has gotten super crowded. And so I think now it's all about just clickbait now, and trying to, figure out ways and thumbnails that will entice people to watch. And so it's funny. It's like, I've gotten older, but my audience has stayed the same age. And so, trying to, it's like that Matthew McConaughey quote from like Dazed and Confused. Yeah, exactly. I keep it. They stayed the same age. My audience has stayed the same age. Yeah. And so, just trying to, be as creative as possible, but it's tough. It's hard because you're always worried and thinking about, the views and things of that nature. And it's funny because the videos that I really love doing get the crappiest views. Like, I do this series called the Alpha M Project, where, I give somebody a makeover who like needs it and is down on his luck, and I spend my money to do it. And it's a great, highly produced, sort of video for YouTube, and people just don't watch it. And, but if I talk about, how to make your balls smell better, like, 200,000 views, it's like, great.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, everybody wants fast food, like people want fast food as opposed to, a nice healthy dinner.
Yeah. Well, and I think, the one thing that's always stuck out to me about your content and your channel is, you've always been very genuine, and you've always been very authentic. Like I could feel when I was watching, or, and as I've watched throughout the years, but especially when I first started watching, I could feel that almost that you wanted me and everyone else who was watching, you genuinely wanted them to do better and be better for themselves. And I think that's where some of the other, that's where it lacks. You know what I mean?
I think what the interesting thing about YouTube is that I think back when I started, it was almost more wholesome in terms of the intention. Not that the content was wholesome. Everything that was getting a lot of views was, people eating cats and like whatever. It was like, weird shit. Now,
Yeah.
but now, and so when I started, I had no idea, like nobody made money off of YouTube, and you had to have 10,000 subscribers in order to apply to be a partner to actually earn revenue on your videos. Now, everybody knows that you can make money if you have a popular channel or whatever. And so the reason why people start channels are different now than they used to be. And so now it's not so much about, oh, I just want to make content just to share my perspective or help people or whatever. It's about, I need to build an audience that I can sell shit to. And so it's different now. And so I think that, yeah, I mean, when I started, it was simply just to help guys, dress better and feel better. And that was my only intention. Mm-hmm. And then over the years, it's still my intention. I've just figured out ways to make money and still maintain my authenticity to a degree, just because it's something where, I have no problem like being as honest and vulnerable as I need to. Like I've cried on more videos than, like most people, would ever feel comfortable doing. And it's just because I think that that's one of in a world of social media nowadays, everything is so like filtered, both in, what you say and what you do, and just being real and okay, having emotions and being honest. Once I realized that people, or that I had the ability to kind of make a difference to some degree, it was a really kind of like eye-opening experience for me. And it made me be a better person, because not that I was like a shithead before, but, like I was like, I wasn't like some like scumbag, but,
yeah,
it was one of those situations where I never wanted to say one thing and somebody meet me and be something else. And so, and I also, and that's one of the other things, like when you've been like, I've been low in terms of, just emotionally and mentally and professionally and financially, like I've been low. And so it hasn't been that long ago. And so it changes things when you remember, I like it wasn't long ago that I was driving that beer cart. And so being super hyper aware that it could all go away. Every day I say the same thing. Don't fuck it up today. Like, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but today just don't fuck it up. Try not to. And so, so far I've not fucked it up yet, but the day is young. So
yeah. So what's the next step for you? What's the next site on your horizons that you want, or the next thing that you want to try and tackle?
I want to sell Tiege Hanley. I think I want to build that to the point of, somebody buying it.
Yeah.
That's been kind of the goal from the beginning, if I'm being honest. Like other than make a great product, the goal when we started Tiege Hanley was not to be selling skincare in 10 years. I think that as an entrepreneur, one of those kind of like feather in your cap benchmarks that I think everybody, if they're being honest, strives for, is to be bought by or to be acquired by somebody else and let them then take your baby further. And so for Tiege Hanley, that's definitely, I would say, in the next 5 years, something that I feel like we will be able to do. And, the other, this year it's trying to figure out Enemy. Pete and Pedro is another one. Like every year I have like benchmarks and kind of goals for like sales goals and things of that nature, but I don't really make 5-year plans just because they've never really worked out. And so it's for me, just, we'll see what happens. Try not to bite off more than I can chew, and just take time for myself and my wife to kind of decompress where we can. We're currently taking care of her mother, who has dementia. And so at a facility, not to bring the mood down, but that's just taking care of. That's been something interesting that we've been having to deal with for the past like 3 years. And it's interesting because my wife was estranged from her mother. I never met her mother. We've been together for 20 years. I've never met her mother up until 3 years ago. And we moved her down and put her in a facility to help her, kind of live. And so just to see that kind of relationship and the healing that's going on is pretty beautiful. And so, cause that was one of my biggest fears, is that she would pass away, and my wife would never be able to kind of like have that time to
Mm.
kind of heal. And this has been a really, even though it's been hard, it's been very, healing. And so right now we just moved there. And so it's been a really rough 2-3 weeks. And so we're still dealing with that, but that's just life that is happening, and responsibilities that you take on yourself. But no, other than that, I don't know. Try not to F it up today. That's what I'm going to try and do.
Nice.
How about yourself? What's on the agenda? What's on the 1 year, 5 year, 10-year plan?
Yeah. So I, my podcast in particular has literally since the new year, and we're only 2 weeks in, has been taking strides that I, was hoping for within the first year. Cause I mean, I've only been doing this. It was a year, January 6th.
Yeah.
I've been doing this. And I feel like it's finally starting to get to the point where I want it to be. And my goal for this podcast is I want to try to make it so this is my steady income while I'm pursuing my acting career. Cause I'm an actor, I'm a producer, I write. Ultimately, I want to direct as well. And so, but I mean, projects come and go, which means money comes and goes, you know what I mean? And so I want to make sure that this is something that can be steady, that for my girlfriend and I, that we can feel good about it, but yeah, so really that, and then I want to do, I always tell myself every year that any film project that I do, I want it to be bigger than, or I want it to help me step forward rather than sideways than what I did the year before. And thankfully I can say, other than COVID, I can say that I've been able to do that. So yeah, that's really it, in terms of business wise. And then family wise, I've got some goals is to try and be better at keeping in touch, with aunts and uncles in particular, and my grandmother. I mean, they're all starting to get older now,
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that, that you have those phone calls while they're still answering. So, and yeah, so that's really my plan. I mean, I'm kind of like you. I try not to look too far ahead, because when I do that, it always blows up, or there's something that happens. Like I never would have imagined that I'd be doing a podcast, 2 years ago, or even a year and a half ago. Never would have imagined. But here we are. And I've had some personal resets as well. I mean, I got divorced I got married and divorced within a year, and pretty much have started from ground zero again. But I'm happy with the strides that I've taken in my life. And I learned a lot of lessons during that time period. And so, and it was all, it was all things that I knew I needed to do for myself and my future. And yeah, and so here we are, and I feel as though I'm in a better place than I have ever been, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, everything. So yeah, so that's kind of long story or long answer to your question.
No, mine was the long answer. Yours was a very concise answer compared to mine.
well, thank you. So I have, before I end every show, I always have this segment called The Goods, and they're kind of rapid fire questions, kind of pick your brain a little bit, see where we land, keep you on your toes.
Okay.
So if we may,
let's
dive in. All right. Number one, if you
I can't promise I can answer these, but go on.
No. It's okay. It's all right. So your bank account number. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
So number one, if you had to choose between these three options to have your own line, would you like to have a shoe line, a line of like men's suits, dress wear, formal wear, I should say, or a watch line?
Watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the shoes, I mean, I think about returns when I think about, those things. So a shoe, you may get the wrong size, you may get them and you may not like them. And so the returns, that would be a pain in the ass. suits, that's a whole nother level in terms of the just the chance of it not fitting, and people having to, no, that would be horrible. The watch basically is a universal thing. And so watches, if you like the watch, you like the watch, and it fits on every wrist because you have adjustments. And so definitely a watch line.
Nice. Okay.
Okay.
Good.
That was easy.
Yeah. If there, or is there an investment opportunity that you've passed on where you wish you hadn't later?
Bitcoin. I think everybody is like, damn. I and my friend Christian, my video guy, is like, oh no, you should buy this. I'm like, I don't understand it. I'm not gonna. You're gonna. And so yeah, he bought it at like $20 or something like that. And so yeah, but yeah. So of course, cryptocurrency, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess in terms of investments, let me think. Not really. I mean, I can't really think of anything specifically. What about you?
Oh, geez. Let's see. Apple. I don't know. I guess I could have gotten on the ground floor of that. No, I'm just kidding. I wasn't even alive at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm not, I'm still, I mean, I'm 26, so I've still got, I've got a lot of learning to do financially, before I start diving into all that stuff. But yeah. So, okay. So my final question is, and this doesn't have to be rapid fire, but what are some ways or things that you've adopted that help you stay, or things in your life that help you stay grounded and centered?
Yeah. Exercise. I mean, exercise is, I can't, that's the one thing that truly will change your life, is taking better care of yourself physically. And so for me, exercise is kind of like my therapist. It's my, my stress reliever. It's something that I do every day. It's something that changed my life at the age of 12. And so exercise, that's the one thing that you can do. And it doesn't mean you have to have a six pack or amazing glutes. It just means, start taking an active role in your physical fitness. And that will definitely help you in every single aspect of your life. The other thing is just surround yourself with people that'll tell you the truth, as opposed to people that'll tell you what you want to hear. Right? Everybody needs good friends, right? Friends that blow smoke up your ass are not necessarily the people that you need to be around. Having people that'll call you on your bullshit and keep you just, and that's one of the problems that a lot of entrepreneurs, or people that are trying to start a business, they'll ask the wrong people who, what they think of their business, right? Your mother is always going to tell you it's awesome, right? Like, you're the best, right? And even for acting, I'm sure, what did you think? Oh, it was amazing. You should win. You need to be around people and have people that'll be like, you know what, you didn't sell it. I didn't really feel it with that one. You can do better, kind of thing. And so, I think surrounding yourself with just people that'll tell you the truth. And even when the truth isn't necessarily hard to, or easy to hear. And then something else is getting the toxic people out of your life. The word toxic is pretty, everybody's using the word toxic, but there are people in your life that shouldn't be in your life. It's not that they're bad people. It's not that they're, horrible humans. It's they're not good for you. And if there are people in your life that make you feel worse about yourself, or that affects your self-esteem, you really got to take a hard look at who you surround yourself with. I'm a firm believer that, if you are around people that don't have your best interest in mind, or that are bringing more pain than good in your life, you got to get rid of them, because they do so much collateral damage. And the other thing is just, realizing that, good things or bad things happen to good people. And a lot of times we are collateral damage in other people's shit, right? So if there's something in your life that's holding you back from being happier, that you're holding on to, go to a therapist, go to betterhelp.com. There are things that you can do to sort of deal, not necessarily that you're going to forget, not that you're going to necessarily forgive, but accept and be able to kind of compartmentalize it and be able to move on. That's one of the things that really helped me was therapy, going to see and talk to a counselor, because I was having a really difficult time getting out of my own way. And it was like, everything was done to me, as opposed to this is just happening.
Yeah.
And I happen to be, like I said, collateral damage. And figuring out a way to sort of deal with it and deciding, making the decision to be happy, because happiness is a choice. You could live in the past, you can live in the negative, sort of space or headspace that, all the shitty things that happened to you, or pity parties, or you can choose that you're going to be happy despite some of these other unfortunate situations. And once you decide that, it's about making sure that you align your actions and everything that you try to do in order to make that happen. But that's probably my answer. How was that?
That's perfect. Yeah, no, honestly, that's great. And I think that's a great place to leave it. Also, by the way, to all of you, you should also check out the Alpha M podcast as well.
No, that I once again, something that I started that I just, it was too much. And so I'm not even doing it anymore.
But it's out there. You've got good episodes though. So it's out there.
Yeah, but I only interviewed people that I knew. And then I'm like, whatever. It just was like,
Wow.
Next.
Well, hey.
See, Patrick, go check out the Alpha M podcast. The Alpha M YouTube channel, go ahead. And
that's the big thing.
I could use that.
Yes. That's the big thing, is the YouTube channel. There, especially to all you men out there, there are many, like tons and tons and tons of videos of, if you have a question, Alpha's done it. So, thank you very much for being on. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I hope we can do it again at some point. And yeah, man, it was great talking with you.
You as well. Thanks so much, Patrick.
All right, that's it. That's all we got. Thank you to Aaron for being here. Thanks for taking the time. Thank you to all of you for also being here and listening and checking this out. I hope you can go back and watch all my previous episodes, or listen to all my previous episodes. You hit that notification button so you can be alerted when new ones come out. Also, if you feel so inclined, make sure to give me a thumbs up, and on Spotify, give me a rating, whatever you feel is necessary. 5-star, maybe you'll get a check in the mail. I don't know. But yeah, so thank you very much for being here, and we'll see you next week.